Okay. How do you explain that one? Okay, first of all, guys, really excited to talk about this one. Insane. I should say, though, didn't watch the Liverpool game. I knew Liverpool were going through. 4-1 was the final result tonight, so obviously Liverpool go through on aggregate. Easy job. But honestly, if you didn't watch City versus Tottenham, you've missed, I think, for me personally, it's maybe a top 5 game of all time. It had absolutely everything. It's just a mental football game, and I actually need a break. My head is just... It's very difficult to take all of that in. It is one of the craziest, most insane matches of football at that kind of quality as well that I've ever seen. City won on the night, but Tottenham go through on away goals. There was a winner from City in the final moments of the game, which would have given Sterling a hat-trick that was ruled offside by VAR in the dying moments of the game to take City through to the semi-finals. And then VAR steps in and does its job. Let's talk about VAR because it's very... I think it's almost a bit 50-50 over the last few years, but surely this is one of those nights where people are going to start seeing the light. This is coming from an Arsenal fan that just watched Tottenham go through to the semi-finals because of VAR. But it did its job and it's here to stay. It has to. It is fantastic. Can you imagine how painful it would have been a couple of years ago if that happened and Man City went through? Imagine Arsenal fans, okay, you're sitting there right now, you support Arsenal, or whoever you support. Imagine that was your team tonight. Imagine getting knocked out because of an offside goal like that. Yes, it was very close, but he was offside. It's justice. VAR did its job, and that is why we need it in big moments of big games. England fans, think back to that Germany game. That goal that Lampard scored, okay, VAR would have ruled that as a goal. We got cheated, and it still pisses me off to this day. So I'm so glad that VAR is here. It's not perfect. It never will be perfect. I think it still takes a little bit too much time to actually get its action on the field. You know, the referee still takes a bit too much time out of the game, in my opinion. That can definitely be worked on. I also think the communication between what's going on the pitch and us watching the game at home can be improved. Sometimes we don't know what's going on. The commentators don't know what's going on. Very difficult to improve that, I guess. And also, clearly, the players, they need to respect it a little bit more. Respect the fact that if it's going to VAR, it's going to VAR. There's no yes or no. There's no fighting it. There's no going up to the referee and being an arse about it. It's up to the referee. You've got to respect the referee. And none of the, I saw some of the players doing all this, and it's down to the referee and the officials that are in charge of the game. I don't want it impacting the players whatsoever. Rugby is a perfect example, and cricket, of how to use video assistant refereeing. It's perfect. They've nailed it, but they've been using it for so long now, it's just become second nature. But no one is disrespecting the referee over it. None of the players are running over and demanding it be used, at least from what I see every now and again then when I watch that sport, or those sports. But in football, I'm sure it will get there. But football is arguably the biggest sport in the world. It needs it everywhere. From the next few seasons onwards, I would expect it to be in every single stadium that's playing in league football. It has to be. And it's done its job. But let's talk about the game itself, because I've mentioned how Sterling almost got his hat-trick in the final few moments of the game for it to be ruled offside. But Sterling, I think he has to be Player of the Year in the Premier League, at least this year. Who else could it be? Like Van Dijk? Mane? I think Sterling should be getting it. This guy is just an absolute animal at the moment. What is Pep feeding him? Other than just fantastic tactics. Because Sterling is just on another level right now. I think him and De Bruyne for Man City tonight, it might be up there as one of their best performances for their club ever. And they still couldn't get through. So you've got to give a lot of credit to Tottenham, even though that really hurts. They were very good. They really were. Defensively all over the place, both teams. But they've gone through. You can't deny it. They've achieved something incredible. They've beaten Tottenham. They've beaten City over 2 legs, and they're through to the semi-finals. I mean, they're in a great moment right now. Just weeks after being in a real slump, they've done better in the top 4 fight. They've got their brand new stadium, which they're unbeaten in, and now they're into the semi-finals of the Champions League, beating the best team in Europe, arguably right now, I guess, with Liverpool, Barcelona. You know, it's pretty incredible. Company. I wanted to talk about Company because I don't think he was necessarily bad tonight, but I do question why he was in this lineup when I think to myself, City's defence has been arguably very, very good this season. Why change it on a night like this, bringing in a player that hasn't had many minutes this season? Personally, I wouldn't have done that. I don't know if Otamendi was injured or Stones or whatever, but seeing Company in the lineup, I did think to myself, that could be an issue because he's nowhere near the giant. He's just as tall as he used to be, of course, but he's not the same player anymore. And you could see that today. And Laporte, I don't know what happened. Maybe it was because he was playing with Company. Maybe he feels more comfortable with Stones or Otamendi or whoever. But Laporte just had a woeful first 20, 30 minutes or so. I mean, this game, it was 2-2 after 10 minutes. It was the craziest start to a game I think I've ever seen in a Champions League quarter-final before. It blew my mind. Just absolutely blew my mind. You know, last night, I was able to jump between the 2 games, but tonight, no chance. I kept that City game on the entire time, and I think it's the best game this season. And like I said at the start, probably in my top 5 of all time. It just goes down in history as one of the most just insane games. Just absolutely unbelievable, and so many goals. Just so many goals, and it just had absolutely everything. Of course, as well, Spurs without Harry Kane. Kane must be watching at home, over the moon, of course. He must have, as every other fan for Tottenham and all the players and the managing staff, whatever, they must have had a heart attack when Sterling scored his hat-trick goal. But then instantly, the elation from seeing the VAR result that it was offside. I can't imagine that feeling, the sheer drop, the depression they're going to feel as soon as the goal goes in, and then suddenly they're on cloud 9 again because they know they've done enough. And those final few moments where Dele Alli got the ball and he ran down and they got a corner and everyone knew it was game over. And the relief on Tottenham players' faces at the end of that game, it just shows how much they've put into it. And I'm sure that they will make it to the final because they're going to be playing Ajax. And Ajax, yes, giant killers this season, but surely not again. Surely Tottenham will beat them, right? I actually pray to the FIFA, the football gods, I mean actual FIFA, not the game, that Ajax can do it again, because nothing would be nicer to me than seeing Ajax in the final. It's not just because it's Tottenham and I don't like Tottenham. I don't care who it was in the semis. I want Ajax to win the Champions League. Can you imagine? It would be just a Leicester story, wouldn't it, from the Premier League when they won it? I would absolutely love to see it. I don't know if I believe it will happen because I didn't believe they would beat Real Madrid. I didn't believe they would beat Juventus, but it happened. And they will be going into those games full of confidence. And Tottenham will definitely have, I wouldn't say an issue, but it's certainly not going to help them with their top 4 fight. The fact that they've got 2 massive games to play still, and potentially the final as well, in between the big fixtures they've got in the Premier League. It's going to help out the other top 4 clubs. Manchester United being knocked out last night means they're going to have less fixtures as well. So it does actually have a big effect. Those 2 games against Ajax are, I think, potentially going to hinder Tottenham from getting into the top 4. It could genuinely harm them. So it's going to be an interesting final few weeks / 2 months of the season, knowing that Tottenham are the only top 4 team that are still in a European competition. It's going to be very, very interesting. Well, Chelsea, of course, are still in, but it's the Europa League. It's slightly different, and I don't know if Arsenal are actually going to make it through. I'm a bit nervous about Thursday, tomorrow night. So there is another Champions League night of glory. It, for me, is just the best competition outside of the Premier League for a reason. If you haven't seen the game, watch the highlights, because every goal, every moment, every single piece of that game will go down in history as one of the best I've seen. And you're missing out if you haven't seen it. Even if you hate City and you hate Tottenham, just watch that game of football. It's the reason I love this sport. It's so on a knife's edge half the time. You don't know what the results are going to be ever. You can't You can't predict these things. Who would have thought that it would have ended like that? No one. And if you did think that and you put a bet on it, you'd be a very, very rich person by the end of tonight. So thank you for watching. If you enjoy these Champions League reviews, I know a lot of people enjoyed last night's one. If you enjoyed this one as well, then please do leave a comment. Tell me you want more, and we'll be back next time. Obviously, tomorrow we've got Arsenal playing, so we'll be doing a review of that game against Napoli, which I'm really nervous about. But hopefully it will be another video like this where I'm just full of energy and elated because we've done the job. Thank you for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.